What's the crack, Spud?
I'm all good, man. I'm all good. I can let you in on a little secret. I did
cool.
my first batch of microdosing last night, and it was fucking amazing.
Right. Is the idea not with microdosing that you don't feel anything, Spud?
That's what my impression was too. But this was far too strong.
Right.
And well, it wasn't far too strong. It was just it's too strong to be a microdose dose, but it wasn't like a flat out MDMA fucking heroin trip or anything like that, you know. It was
Yeah. Do you know what the dose was and all that? Do you want to share? I don't know what, with the legality of these things. I don't know what you want to share and all that. So you lead the conversation.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If the law's an ass, fuck it. Well, don't fuck the ass, but
unless you want to fuck the ass, and then do that. That's fine.
Yeah, if that's what you're into.
Yeah.
As long as the ass is consenting.
Yeah. And it's possibly a human ass rather than some sort of
donkey.
Yeah.
Or a donkey, depends on where you're from, I suppose. Yeah, but it's donkey or donkey, but it's not monkey or monkey. You know, like, come on, have a bit of consistency here.
It's almost as if English was a made-up language.
Almost, man. What was I saying? Yeah, so it was the dose was I believe 0.35, something like that. But like really, it should be something like 0.5 or even less even. So, but
well, a microdose, as far as I know, going by Paul Stamets, who is the beardy god of such things, is between 0.001 and 0.25. I think something like that. It's like after that you get into actual doses, but the main kind of what's considered a dose, like if you're going to trip, is 1 gram.
Right.
And then the heroic dose is 5 grams. Yeah, and then above that is your breakthrough things, whatever.
I am a golden god.
Yeah, well, 5 grams silent in the darkness is Terence McKenna's thing. But from what my kind of Reddit kind of understanding, which I'm aware is an skewed reality, it's not actual reality. Most people hit around 3.5. That's for a trip.
Right.
So
okay.
So yours at 0.35 was 1/10 of a thing. So I mean, it's essentially a microdose.
Yeah.
But the whole thing, it's the idea with microdosing is that it should be sub-perceptual.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to mix it down. I have these, like vitamin tablets. I have these mushroom, kind of same idea. They're like vitamin things, but they have all the good things that mushrooms are supposed to give you. These different mixes of mushrooms. So I'll mix it down with that and into a lower dose, and then, I'll try it then. I'm going to wait till this one is out of. It should be out of my system now. It should be well gone. But I need to go back and do some kind of... like I had done some internet kind of exams about creativity and all that kind of stuff before. And I really should have done it like yesterday and recorded it. And then before I took it to start again. So I'm going to wait a day or two to let it out. And then I'll do these exams, record them and get a kind of baseline. And then start it properly again, you know. But it was incredibly fun last night. I was watching some football. There was some music on. Everything was kind of matching up, and it was Italian football, which is obviously the most poetic and beautiful football that there is. And
I can't imagine football is a regular thing for people who are on mushrooms to watch. Or maybe it is. Maybe it's
man, no. Well, golf is maybe not a big thing, but golf is popular with stoners.
Yeah, well, I can understand that in a sense.
It's very relaxed, but there's a tiny bit of competition in it, but it doesn't really matter who wins, really, because you all want them to get the ball in the hole, really.
Really?
Can't they all just win, you know? And, I used to know plenty of lads who would watch the Masters or the US golf on Sunday afternoons because it'd be on Sky Sports, and they'd have a few joints and they'd watch that, and it's just like, you fucking losers, was what I was thinking.
What's worse is people who listen to golf on the radio. Like that's... The part of me totally understands it, and another part goes, "What?"
No. I wouldn't get that at all. So that's been my that's what I've been up to, Tommie. And today I'm gathering people for interviews. I've been in touch with a couple of academics, a couple of journalists, a couple of podcasters, And
It already sounds like your microdosing is making you more productive.
maybe so, yeah. No, I did a card reading of the 40 servants today, and you know me, I rarely do them, but it kind of it hinted at, get your finger out of your arse, because the thing is, like, I have been emailing people for a while, and it's one of these things that, like, oh yeah, look, best of luck with it, but I'm not putting my name to it.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's understandable because it's not legal, but like but kind of my thing is that but like you're in Canada and I'm in Poland, and sure, no one cares, like, so we'll just do.
Well, the thing that I often wonder about the whole thing about drugs or any kind of legal or illegal thing is you have rock stars and famous people going on, Joe Rogan or I don't know, Terry Wogan or whoever, and saying, "Oh yeah, sure, I took a load of heroin," and no one seems to care. Like, or Oasis going on. Well, there was that one story I heard about Oasis. Liam, when did some interview where he said, "Oh, back in the day, he used to go around stealing tellies or stuff like that," and then the cops started looking into a series of burglaries around it. But I don't know if that's actually true. but there must be, like, I was listening to a podcast recently with Simon Neil from Biffy Clyro, and it was really good. But he was on about, basically taking drugs, like, it's only like, it's only marijuana or weed or whatever it is, but it's still illegal. It's still a thing. And he's like, he's a guy who lives in Scotland, so they obviously don't care. That's my kind of.
No, they don't give a shit, not at all. And why would they, like,
I think it only would matter if you had a job where what you said on a podcast reflects the institution.
Yeah, no, I'm sure, like, I'm a freelancer, so, like, and it's Paddy Murphy. So there's so many of us that I'm kind of anonymous, you know.
Your face is on the internet, though.
No, I know, but, like, but if you search Paddy Murphy, there's fucking loads of fucking Paddy Murphys out there. And, like, any of the writing I do, like, that could even be another Paddy Murphy that does sports writing, because there are others as well, so it's grand. But it's something I don't think about, I don't worry about. I'm all right. Maybe I should, but, like... Well,
I don't know. I think, like, if they're coming after you for microdosing mushrooms and leaving, look at Abbey Street in Dublin, and you can just, like, it's blatantly open, drug dealing right in front of it. Like, if they're going to come after me for mentioning microdosing on a podcast, and leave that, really?
That's the thing. You have far easier targets than me, like. You have to listen to the podcast, you have to compile evidence. Just go down to the closest, whatever, bridge, and you'll find a heroin addict.
I know, And don't arrest them, help them. Don't stop making life shit for people who have problems and are dealing it in their own way.
So I think probably what I'll do after this then is I'll probably do some CBD or some THC microdosing after this one.
Is THC a thing that you can microdose? I know CBD kind of is the craze.
Well, CBD is fairly popular and easy to get. Like, I just bought some CBD vape stuff for vape pen, different strengths of it, and down across the border you can buy, like, tea mixes of CBD, but it doesn't really give the strength of it.
You can buy, like, CBD, like, you can literally buy the bud in Ireland.
You can buy the bud now as well.
I've taken CBD a number of times and I have, like, did nothing for me, so it'll be interesting to see what it comes out. But I know people swear by it, so I'm not dismissing it.
I had it there about it was a week and a half or 2 weeks ago or something, because I have it for a vape pen and I stopped using it for ages, and I think that just my resistance had gone to it, and we had a beer or two, and I went up to bed, and I was supposed to go half an hour later, but like 2 hours later I'm still kind of sitting there just like, I was happy. Like, it's hard to explain the feeling it gives you, because it's
but again, I thought the idea with CBD was that it didn't do anything to you.
No,
there's no high associated with it.
It's not a high, but it's a chill.
Right. Is that not what THC does to you too?
No,
allegedly. It certainly doesn't do that to me.
The voices and the guilt.
Oh man!
Why did you do that thing to that old man 75 years ago? I wasn't alive.
The stereotypical stoner on the couch that you see in movies and all that. I'm like the polar opposite of that. If I take THC, I'm like, really? Oh no, I'm not chilled at all.
That's the thing, when it wasn't Rogan talking about this, I think, after Sober October, and the first time he smoked.
I was thinking of Terry Wogan again. Wasn't Wogan on? And he's dead.
He gets crazy paranoid, and just the kind of things that, like, it's kind of like your subconscious kind of comes out. the first time you smoke in a while. So I think the first night you smoke is just a write-off, and then smoke the next night you should be better. I was watching Vice. Yeah, Vice are putting out
Vice.
A series. They're putting out
All
a
right.
series called Kentucky Ayahuasca, and
All right.
I watched one of the episodes today, and it's very.
Isn't Vice dodgy journalism though? Isn't it? Like they're questionable in some of their things.
Yeah,
they've
they're
done.
shite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that's all right.
But it went from woke to broke, isn't that it? And now they're doing.
Woke
But
culture.
it's a very sellouty type of. It's a very formulaic reality TV show. People come in for some help. They take some drugs. They talk about their problems. Yada yada. But the ayahuasca trips that they're talking about sound amazing.
Right.
Amazing. And then I was googling, and like you can go on like ayahuasca retreats in the Czech Republic, which handy for me is only 500 meters down the road. Hey.
Yeah. You can do it in Dublin. Like it's not illegal.
Can you?
Yeah.
No, it's illegal in Ireland.
Well, I tell you, you can definitely go, because I've had emails and stuff from being members of different groups and stuff where you go and do a meeting. All about ayahuasca in Abbey Street, strangely enough, in that hotel across. Yeah. And then there's some retreat. Now, I never got as far as going to any meetings, so the retreat mightn't be in Ireland, but they're certainly advertising and the tourist element. It could be in Ireland. I don't know. I mean, you can buy ayahuasca on eBay because I did. It's sitting up on my shelf for 3 years because I'm not going to take it ever. Imagine me taking it, losing my mind. But it was kind of, it was in a sense of something I just want to say, can you buy it? And I like having the idea of it being there, but it's probably gone off now. Well, dried.
No,
maybe
I'd like to give it a go. I'd really like to give it a go because but I'd want someone with me, a shaman or someone. Who knows what
I
they're
think
doing.
if you're going to do it, go do it with someone, do your research.
Because watching that thing today, and I think there's 10 episodes, and that was episode 7 or something. So it was just a random one out of it. And,
it's not 10 episodes about the same thing. It's like a series of.
No, it's different people every time that this.
But
guy,
is it all ayahuasca in Kentucky? Is it?
Yeah. There's just one guy who runs a business. He does the therapy for them.
Is it like one of those tattoo things, like equivalents?
Kinda.
Like Miami and Kentucky ayahuasca.
Yeah, it is kind of like that. Except everyone has these horrific stories of child abuse and
Have you never seen the tattoo ones? That's all that is too. I'm getting this because when I was 4, my brother exploded, and this is my tribute to him. Soon afterwards, my father also exploded. It was a very explodey time in my life. I wish my mother exploded, but she never would.
Yeah, one guy, like his mother, he heard his mother dying in the next room, and he felt guilty, and then he tripped out on ayahuasca, and he said that he closed his eyes and he could see these stars, and then 2 stars kind of came together and they looked at him, and then it looked like it was eyes of a feminine face, and then it zoomed out and he was being held in the arms of his cosmic mother, and I was like, I have to try this shit.
But that's a very common thing, isn't it? Though with ayahuasca, this mother or goddess kind of mother ayahuasca, isn't it?
Mother Aya, yeah. Yeah, I'd love to try that and just talk to aliens or talk to God or.
But imagine you took ayahuasca, Spud, and your mother wasn't happy with you. Where were you? Have you your homework done?
Bit late for that, Tommie. She keeps asking me these mad questions. I remember we were in Pizza Hut in Dublin one time. I was about 22 or so, and she's like, "Love is the drug. Is it Roxy Music?"
I think so. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that song just came on the radio, and she's like, "Do you ever try any drugs?" And I was like, "Ma,
don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to.
Don't ask. She's asked me a couple of times since then as well. I don't know what is she cured. Does she want me to buy some for her or what? No.
Possibly, she's probably going to all her friends. I think my son takes drugs. How do I bring this up without him thinking I'm weird? I want some drugs.
Listen to podcasts. He does. No, don't actually. Anyway, Tommie,
he's taking these mushrooms and watching Italian football. He's gone astray. Anyway,
what you been up to?
Me, what have I been up to? I have been I don't know. There's a few things I could talk about that I'm not sure. We got a book that we'll just briefly touch about on. Not go into too much detail. We were asked to review a magic book that was extraordinary, we will say.
Yeah, definitely.
It's it's an interesting thing when it comes to reviews with me and stuff. Is like, yeah, of course I'm allowed to have an opinion and all that, but it's a thing I never was comfortable with doing. Is like saying someone's work is bad. Like, 'cause, like, who am I to fucking say these type of things? And I understand like the whole critique thing or whatever. How do you stand on say someone? Well, in it's essentially a book, or wanted to listen to a podcast, wanted to critique it. How do you feel you have any kind of authority in doing that, being that you have a more kind of journalistic background, or what's your?
Well, see, like, I was dipping my toe in like documentary reviews there for a while, and I decided to put them on the back burner until I have my documentaries ready to put out to the public, because I don't think you should review something until you've done something yourself, you know?
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
it's a bit like footballers. Like, the best opinion, like, I think ex-footballers give the best opinions on footballers. However, Sky Sports and etc. don't always hire the most insightful, you know? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But saying that, I see, what you're caught in is that, like, you know yourself from when we were putting our sizzle together, like, there's a ton of work goes into it. And the bigger a production, like, you could have 50, 80 people working on something, you know what I mean? And for someone who just, "Oh, I make a podcast and it reviews," for him to shit all over something that 80 people have worked their arses off to make, I think that's totally unfair. Because, like, well, the camera work's really good, the color grading is good if you can notice it, or the locations are good, or the interview questions were good. It just didn't all come together for some reason, you know. Maybe there was too many chefs spoil the broth kind of thing, you know. And I no, I mean, yeah, of course, give your opinion, but I think the more educated the opinion is, the better it is, and that's why
I think that's it, and I think that's my kind of issue with me doing kind of reviews, is I don't feel I have the authority to do something like, right, so what, I've written a book, did some comics, whatever, but they're not hugely successful or anything. Like, you know, it's not that I've an expertise in it. So the best I can give is an opinion on whether I liked it or not.
Yeah.
And who cares? You know, if Tommy Kelly liked it or not.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's the thing as well, and that's why I don't really watch reviews or read reviews anymore, because it's like, well, it's just someone's opinion. That's all it is. Do you know? And that's so it's like, that's why I stopped doing the documentary reviews as well. Even though people like them and there's loads of views and listens and whatever, it's kind of like, well, I mean, it is just my opinion, but I suppose the person, they do know that, you know, and maybe I can give a little bit more insight because of a background in journalism and because I've done, you know, video stuff as well. So maybe they can see it as it's worth a little bit more than someone, you know, sitting at a bar. But then again, your man sitting at the bar, he totally has his right to his opinion as well, you know.
Yeah, I just think that probably when it comes to like an official review on a podcast, no matter how kind of new or, you know, shite the podcast is, it becomes a bit more, I don't know, grounded in reality or something than someone sitting at a bar going, "Oh, I didn't like it." You know, it's like, it seems to have a bit more of an officiality. It's in my head, anyway.
Yeah.
But the long short of it is, I didn't like your man's book, but what I said to him was, unless I liked it, I'm not going to talk about it. You know, like, because it's, you know, I don't want to add to more of the sum total of negativity.
Like, if I was like given a documentary to watch and I didn't like it, well, then I wouldn't review it, because I don't believe in putting out bad vibes about something or about bad press about something, because it doesn't help anyone, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be constructive helps, but to just shit all over something when it's really bad, and that book was really bad, it's not helping anyone. You know what I mean? Like that book, there was a quote from a fairly famous actress, or actor, I should say. What am I supposed to say? Lady actor. And it was like, okay, well, obviously he's after giving her $500 or $1,000 or whatever, but like, that was money really should have paid to an editor or fucking proofreader or something. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I think people are. But you know yourself, you put a book together or something like that, and you're desperate to get it out because you've had it hanging over your neck like an albatross for ages or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's not always the best way of doing things, you know.
There's also kind of a that idea of that we talked about before of saying, oh, that the universe must get behind me because I've done my thing, and just because you've written a book, you kind of assume that, well, I've done the thing. And I go, yeah, but it's not good. So, but the other thing anyway is that I sent you a documentary that to have put on your radar, which is David Wants to Fly, or something approximating that. It's from 2008, I think 2009. It's about a German dude who wants to follow in David Lynch's footsteps of being a creative filmmaker. Ostensibly, this is what it is. But what it actually is a kind of a behind the scenes of the transcendental meditation movement that David Lynch is a huge proponent for. So it's really good, and I'll not say too much about it because we'll talk about it at some point when you see it. But it was interesting. I was looking up on was there any transcendental meditation stuff close to me or whatever, and it just so happens that they do meetings every 6 months or something like that, these introductory meetings, and there's one tomorrow night in Dundalk, which is like 10 50, I'm gonna go. I signed up, so I'll so I have all the way off my reservations about transcendental meditation, because literally you have to pay to get a mantra that's freely available on the internet. So it's because it's meant to be a personal mantra. But as far as I can gather, what it basically is if you're a man between a certain age, this is your mantra, and everyone between these mans of certain age gets the same mantra.
Okay.
And so whatever. But I'll go. It's 90 minutes, and I'll go like with an open mind, without being my usual cynic thing, because so many people have got huge benefit out of transcendental meditation. Once you take, there's a huge woo aspect to the organisation, but like off the top of my head, Moby, Howard Stern, probably not the two best examples to use, but Simon Neil from Biffy Clyro, again in that interview was talking about how it not saved his life, but practically allowed him to continue to tour and to sleep and all this kind of stuff. And of course David Lynch, huge proponent for creativity and all of this.
Yeah, you should have started with David Lynch there.
Well, it's funny because I was watching the documentary with Finesse, and she knows nothing about David Lynch other than she knows I like him and that he's, he has hair that's very unique and all this kind of thing. And from that documentary, she goes, "Oh, he comes across like an arsehole, really bad." And from that documentary, he does, in fairness, but that just goes to show how you can frame things, because David Lynch is not like that. You don't know, or maybe he is. Maybe the other things are framed. It's hard to know, but. Anyway, so it'll be interesting. I'll do some sort of vlog thing about it maybe, but or we could talk about transcendental meditation next week if you watch the documentary. We'll see. Make no promises. I could go tomorrow and go, I'm never talking about this experience ever again. Or become a devotee, join a cult, and leave the internet for good.
Could happen.
So, getting, as it usually is, about 22, 24 minutes into the podcast, we should probably talk about what we thought we were going to talk about.
Probably.
So I will start by saying, Spud, hail Satan!
Hail Satan! And all who sail in her.
It. So I got Spud to watch some documentaries about Satanism, to see what he made of it. What was, before these, had you any kind of idea what Satanism was? Had you watched Hail Satan?
There's a Netflix one came out last year. Last year now, obviously, or maybe even the year before.
I think it was that year of being in the cinemas, and then came on Netflix towards the end of last year, I think.
So it's Hail Satan, and what was his name?
Why can I never remember his name? It's a mad name. It'll come to me.
I'll Google it here quickly.
Yeah.
Hail Satan Netflix film.
I do know it. I mean,
this is where you want some elevator music. No, I don't see his name here. Hail Satan. No, don't play the clock. What? No, don't do that.
I'll put it in. Head of the Temple of the Satanic
Temple. Oh yeah, that's your one. I see her face there now. She got in trouble.
It's great content.
Yeah, this is shocking. Lucian Greaves.
That's it. I mean, how could you not know? I mean, that's definitely his real name. Lucian Greaves. I'm sure it's not. Name, yeah, I'm sure it's not his real name. His name's probably Paddy Murphy.
He's the one doing the mushrooms and writing about football.
Huge Italian football fan.
I saw that film and I thought it was okay. It was good. It was decent. And I'd known what Satanism is, because I remember in secondary school, it came up, and your guy in these documentaries, Jesus, what was his name?
Anton LaVey.
Anton LaVey. I remember that stuff came up before, and I remember one of the rebels brought in a copy of the Satanic Bible, and yeah, so I knew a little bit about it, but like I just kind of knew it was like the Catholic Church, but like inverted or upside down. You know,
Like were you thinking it was sacrificing goats? It was
no,
evil.
No, not since like you're told all those stuff in secondary school, or it's like I remember like, or even in primary school, it was like the local bikers would do something. It's, yes, they're all Satanists. They are. They do be killing cats and stuff. They hang dogs and all. It's like, shut the fuck up, will you? And they're Satanists and they sacrifice goats, and it's like there's no one in fucking Wexford to sacrifice. There's no even goats in fucking Wexford. Shut up, will you? Gonna go to Kerry or Wicklow if you want goats. But so like I knew, I kind of knew what it was, to be honest, going into it. Yeah, just that, and I don't think I've come out of the documentary feeling any different, to be honest. I think it's still kind of like, well, it takes the idea of the Catholic tradition and just kind of turns it on its head, and just that's about it, really. Maybe, I don't know. Well, like, where do you stand on all this? Where do you stand on God, even?
Me, I'd stand on God. I don't know. I'm not opposed to. I definitely don't believe in a Catholic or a Christian God, but like it's going to come down to semantics. Like there's probably some sort of. I think it's naive to think that human intelligence is the most advanced intelligence in existence. Whether you call something that knows a bit more than me or us God, I don't know. Has he any kind of say in anything that happens? I don't know. Is it aliens that have, have we been created by aliens on, from another planet or whatever? And if so, who made them? Blah, 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 blah. I think it's an unanswerable question, to be quite honest. I don't think you can know. I don't believe in the beardy sky god, mostly, but there's definitely a part of my psyche that does, that you're never really going to get fully rid of, because it's it's stuffed in there from an early age, this whole thing. But I'm aware of it when I go, that there's that thing. There's that thing raising its head again. But I don't know. Well, I mean, I've gone through many stages of trying to acquire a belief in it, like a proper belief in God, to see if it's helpful, to see if praying and this kind of thing does it. It doesn't seem to do much different from not praying to me. And then definitely had my Dawkins, Sam Harris, Christopher Hitchens phase, where it was all, I dismissed everything out of hand, and it was, and I think you need that to kind of get to, plow through the different thing. But you'd be a very, well, you were anyway, like a atheist.
I was fucking, like, when me and you first got to know each other, I was very much a fucking militant atheist, fucking arsehole about it. I was like, and I was too dismissive of everything and everyone. Now I'm just like, now I'm. If you looked up an agnostic in the dictionary, that's what I'd be, because I don't know. I don't know.
The only problem with agnostic being that it's, agnostic without knowledge, it implies there is knowledge that you just don't know it. You know what I mean? So it's like,
to be honest, I'm okay with that. I mean, if there is knowledge and I don't know it, or I don't know it yet, that's okay. Well, maybe I'll find out, and maybe I won't. And
but what I mean is that it implies the existence of God. It's just you don't know about it.
Okay. Sorry. I didn't understand you properly. Maybe. But no, I wouldn't agree with that, because I just don't know. And okay, like, if you know and it makes your life better and you're a good person because of it, cool. But like, some of the worst people I know are Christians. Yeah. But then again, like, some of the most, but like, I don't really know lots of Muslims or Jews, so I don't know. Like, I can't.
I've met two Jewish people that I know of in my life, which is probably that must be very weird to Americans, because it's so prevalent, as far as I can tell, Jewish people. I've met very rare.
I've met plenty. I just haven't met any bad ones. No, I to be honest, no, just religion with me, I think because, like what you were saying about your Christopher Hitchens and Faze and Sam Harris, and I think mine was quite intense as well. I think I thought about it, and played with it so much that now I'm just kind of done with it. And if you're religious and you use it, go for it. If you're not, that's cool. Doesn't takes no skin off my nose.
I find it interesting to people who, particularly who are into magic and the occult and woo and stuff like that, who label themselves as atheists. And you see in an awful lot of case magic groups, they'll be putting up memes with Dawkins going, "Oh, religious people are insane," and I'm going, my thing is, he's also talking about you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not on your side. Like and like people have this kind of weird disconnect between. To just see atheists, I suppose, in a sense, as anti-Jehovah, anti-thing, but like I'm very okay with like, I don't know, hanging out with Ganesh or doing sigils.
Yeah, look, he said,
I
think it was either LeVay or one of the talking heads in the second documentary. They said, I wrote it down here. You know me and my fucking notes.
So the two documentaries you watched, just so people know, is the Satanist one, which is the one from 1969. Am I right?
Yeah, that's the one with the mass and stuff. It's
and then the new one, which is Carl Abraham's one. What's it called? Something.
Oh, I have them here. Hold on.
I was going to say The Devil Made Me Do It, but it's not that.
No, I watched the Devil's Mass, Into the Devil's Den, and then
Into the Devil's Den.
And Speak of the Devil as well. I ran through that. I didn't get to see it all, but I got most of that.
Yeah.
So in the second one, he talks a bit about magic. That's what it was. He says it himself. It's not a talking head now that I think of it. He says like the thing about like white magic and this idea of black magic is that like you should admit what you're doing because all magic is just an attempt to control. And it's like, that's very good one. That's
brilliant.
Really good.
Yeah,
you know? It's true.
Like, he's not well liked in occult circles, Anton LaVey, which I find interesting. I would say, and I think. There's a number of reasons why he's not like this. For things like that, saying things like that, he's very much a chaos magician in the sense of cutting through the bullshit. Like literally the opening paragraph of the Satanic Bible is, every other book on magic is bullshit. You know, and the aim of this book is to not do that. You know, like to pull it apart, whatever. But he also really seems to get on people's nerves because he wears stupid devil horns and capes and doesn't take it all seriously. You know, and he has that kind of corny showman thing to him that I love. I really enjoyed it because it's not taking it seriously. But he's quite serious about it. He set up a church. He wrote books. Like it's the whole thing of I don't know, poking fun at it, but still having the proper point behind it. You know, and part of the poking fun is the seriousness that comes into like occultism and stuff like that. Like, and so when you have like a naked woman as an altar, and you have you know,
something that I found kind of hard to get past, and I just have it with kind of Satanism in general, is that like, and they speak about this, especially in the second documentary. There's a few people speak about it. It's about calling it Satanism and not just humanism.
Humanism,
because,
yeah.
If you call it humanism, because that's pretty much what it is, except without the rituals. If you take out the rituals, it will be humanism, you know? And that's something that I kind of struggle with a bit when I think about it, because like I kind of have this thing about Satanism that, and it was the same. I got the same feeling from the Lucian Gray documentary, Hail Satan one as well. Is that like, well, okay, I get what you're doing, but how to explain it, Tommie? I don't like silences in podcasts.
Let me see if I can.
So religion, all the religions, they all come from a place of like wanting to. Well, you can say it's for control. You can say it's wanting to make our behavior better because there's something else. You know what I mean? There's something to go for. Whereas Satanism is that like it's coming from a place of, you know, putting your finger up and saying, well, fuck you. And it's coming from, it's not coming from a good place.
It's coming from a reaction. It's a reactionary place.
There you go. There you go. Took the words right out of my mouth.
But I think,
which I do kind of struggle with, because then it's like, well, it doesn't have a good base at its. It doesn't have a good message or a good thing at its base, so it's just kind of... Is
it the case that you don't think it has its own solid footing? It's just reliant on something else as a reaction to something else, rather than having a self-contained ethos.
Yeah, even calling Satanism is a bit pointless, because it's not about Satan really. It's about indulgence, or it's about being the most human you can be while you're here.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I don't mind that at all. Their philosophy is fine. It's
I
like
think,
humanism.
yeah, it's fine, yeah.
You know, it's absolutely fine. Like the rituals are, and the rituals as well are, for me, they're just a bit stupid, because it's like you're taking these like medieval Catholic or Christian rituals, and you're just like reenacting them, but in a different way. And it's okay. I get what you're doing, but like you may as well not do them.
Well, there's a kind of a thought, and it's in, now I may be wrong, so people, armchair occultists out there, you can point your fingers at me. I think it's Richard Buckland talks about it in his book on witchcraft, and about doing the Our Father, or the Lord's Prayer, as it's probably known, backwards, as a kind of a deprogramming thing of yourself, so that it's not inherently evil in itself, or has any real power, other than if you had believed in the efficacy of the Lord's Prayer in the first place, by doing something profane against that, is kind of the idea that you're breaking the chains, you're separating yourself and stuff.
Yeah, I get you.
So within a very, very Christian, and I'm not, but incidentally, I'm not saying this is, I agree with this, but I think this is what we're coming from. In a very Christian, westernized world, that you're not going to be able to escape from it. In the same way that I said that there is a part of me that still, endures a sky god with a beard looking at me masturbate. And there's because you can't get away from it.
Yeah.
And it's this kind of, in a sense, chaos magic idea of using the thing that's most useful to you. So in a sense, a reactionary thing to the thing that has programmed you is the thing that's needed at this kind of moment.
Yeah.
So it's using the symbols that has fucked you to unfuck yourself.
Yeah.
So
I get it.
But I get what you're saying. Yeah. Within that makes it very limited, and it only can be reactionary and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, I fucking hate Nissans, so I'm going to drive a Mazda. Well, what? Like, that doesn't really mean anything. Like, just drive the best car you can afford. Don't drive that car just because that car's manufacturer is like the main rival of that manufacturer. It's pointless. Yeah, you get me.
Yeah. No, I do.
But like saying that, like the way he speaks about rituals and magic, and especially music, he says something like what you said to me years ago, about trying to hack your subconscious. So he says about music that he's trying to feed the conscious and subconscious mind to help it become greater. I thought that was really interesting, like, even though he does these things that I think are, well, I wouldn't do that, but the music thing, oh Jesus, I get the music, but the rituals and the naked ladies, it's just like, it's but his performance, and this is what he was, like, he was a carny, he was in the subject.
Yes, yeah.
So I understand why he did it, but for me it's just a bit like, you don't need it. Like that's
the thing, and they would say that you would either know you're a Satanist or you're not. It's not something that you kind of read the book and go, oh, I'll get into this. It's like you read the book and you instantly recognize yourself in it. It's not a case of, it's not something you cultivate in the way that you'd cultivate mindfulness from Buddhism or something like that. It's not,
And it's all very white, isn't it? It's very white and middle class and
also extremely middle class.
A little pretend academic, It's like, we're very smart. We're very smart. We don't like the Christians. It's like
they call him the doctor and stuff like that. Yeah. But I do love the fact that like the black house in the middle of white suburbia and and all that kind of stuff. But there's an interesting thing that when it comes to the whole magic element of it, which is weird in that the Church of Satan since Aunt LaVey have very much distanced themselves from magic and all that kind of, as if it's a dirty little secret that they prefer not to be in it. Like they're very reductionist materialist, very thing. The main guy who is now Peter Gilmore, who took over as the head of the Church of Satan or whatever, I'm sure there's a title. He's very much not into the magic kind of stuff at all. And it's like promoted as a kind of, it's a decompression chamber or sense or decompression ritual. You do it just for psychological type thing.
Right.
In the book, it's hard to know exactly what Aunt LaVey thinks of magic, because you could definitely read it and go, he definitely believes in magic in the way I believe in magic, in woo-woo magic, more than just more than positive thinking, or more than kind of, applied psychology or mind tricks or something like that. Although, because he definitely separates them, because he's lesser magic and greater magic. And the lesser magic would be things like where you wear nice clothes, and that gives you a bit of power over people. Or, I don't know. You talk. You talk. Use certain words. There's a whole book, The Satanic Witch, which is basically it's about how to get men to fall in love with you as from a woman. All these kind of tricks. So that's lesser magic. Then he has the greater magic, which is the transformational magic, the changing the world. All this, which sounds exactly like magic. And he also has this kind of idea in the Satanic Rules, I think it is. It's number 7, where he talks about if you have achieved something from magic, if magic has worked for you, and you then pretend that it hasn't, or you take away, it wasn't really magic, then you will lose all of the things you've obtained. And so that doesn't sound like someone who just thinks that magic is a psychological trick. But there is a way of looking at it, of approaching it where it could be, and why I really like that is that, say you are doing some reality transurfing and you go, well, I want to, something, I don't know, anything else. I want to see the letter W in gold, and you're just working on this as a test or whatever. As you're walking down the street, and there's W there, bright gold, and you go, oh, there it is. You go, but it's just coincidence. That's not really reality transurfing work. So you've immediately disenchanted it. Where he would say, there, I did magic for that. There it is, right there and then, magic. And the more you do that, the more magic you live in. But as soon as you take away the magic, you lose everything you've obtained, because that golden W just returns to being a fucking golden W that means nothing.
Means nothing. Yeah.
So he could mean it in that way, but it certainly sounds like he believes in magic, because it gets like.
Do you know what, Tommie? I'd like to see a more modern documentary on him, though, because like
well, that the second one is this year or last year, like that's.
Is it?
That's literally the most recent documentary on him. Yeah.
You're joking me. God, it looks like something that's about 30, 40 years old. Like.
Well, the one that is mostly talking, that's literally just interviews with the Swedish guys talking about when I met that one. That's the second one. Yeah, that's from last year. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
God, I'm a bit shocked.
Well, it
could have been made a lot better.
Well, it's like he's made a lot of films and stuff like that, but there's a kind of quaint little charm to. Someone's putting together a document. It's almost like a YouTube documentary. Like, it could do with a bit more music. It could do it. Yeah. It's just basically a load of interviews edited together. There's no, like, it starts off with kind of his story in Satanism, and then that just stops, and then you have an hour of interviews.
Yeah. The problem with the interviews in it is that, like, well, with any Talking Heads documentary, the Talking Heads have to be certain people, And I'm watching this going, I don't know who that is. Well, you do. You would. Like, they're all big names in Satanism. Like, I knew who 8 out of 10 people were in that. Like, but there was no dissenting voice in it, though. There was no one saying this is all bullshit. Yeah. There's no one saying, in the way that in Satanist, the Devil's Mass one, that you have that cool guy from down the street who goes, well, his garden's a mess. Yeah, the old guy. He's a legend, yeah. But he says something about the lion. I didn't mind the lion. The lion was no problem at all. He had a fucking lion, what? In suburbia.
Yeah, well, the weeds growing in his back garden.
He was funny. He was cool.
Yeah, he was great. Yeah.
God, I'm really surprised at that. Because, maybe then, to rephrase it, I'd like to see a more modern take on him. Because, like, I'm watching this in 2020. Like, he did the book in 67, is that right?
Church Satan Starts 66, book 66. Of the Satanic Bible is 69, I want to say. Okay. Although it might have been, given to someone, and it might have been finished in 68, but I think published in 69.
Well, that's kind of when he started, I wouldn't say fame, but that's when he started making waves, because this book came out. But, like the thing is, like, at that time, it would have made such a fucking wave, because it was just totally different and this mad thing. And for us, like, in 2020, it's like, he set up a church, or Jesus, anyone can do that, like. But back then it was like he really just kind of, and he did it in a really interesting way. He didn't take on the church and go toe to toe with them. He just said, "Yeah, you can do your thing, but my way is for the cool kids."
yeah.
Which I appreciate, but there was something that made me dislike him early on in the first documentary. It was that, and I still don't know if that doesn't matter if I like him or not.
No.
But it comes out that he was a big reader of Freud, and it comes back to our old frenemy, Bernays.
Sure, yeah.
So I think that he just
and also it equally thrown into mix. It's Ayn Rand as well. Like he's the big, as you can tell, once you read the Satanic Bible, you go, oh right, I've read this before.
Debauchery, you know? But so I think, like I still can't figure out if his intentions were good, but they don't have to be good because it's the fucking Church of Satan, is it?
Yeah,
but you know what I mean? So it's like he saw that there's no religion based on the carnalness of men or the what are the words I'm looking for? The basement of man or anything like that, you know? So I think he just had this thing in his head about his circus background, a bit about religion. He read Sigmund Freud and went, ha! Ha 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 ha! I'm going to be a millionaire. Now, he didn't end up being a millionaire, but I'd say he had a fucking lot of fun doing what he done. And
I would say so.
It's a bit like, for me thinking about now or watching it, it's a bit like L. Ron Hubbard in a way with Scientology. It's like, right, well,
I think L. Ron Hubbard was a bit more insidious though than Ansel LaVey.
Okay, so he was more insidious, but like he's just kind of set it up for shits and giggles and had a good time. You know, L. Ron Hubbard went too far.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's fair.
But this the what's his name? The doctor. He had crack, like, you know. He had fun and he got to play his keyboards and have like great parties and, you know, these mad masses and rituals, and I think he just had a lot of fun doing it, and I think kind of that's what captivated some people into it. But then I think some people would have gotten into it as a rebellion against their church upbringing, which I think is a bit pointless, because like sometimes he comes across as do you remember in school there was like the leader of the crusties, and you know he was a fucking douchebag. But because he was smart and he could kind of manipulate people, he was the leader of the outsiders. Yeah. And a lot of that kind of came across to me during it. It's like, well, is this a nice guy or is he a fucking... Like, I think there is a lot of manipulation with him. But maybe he didn't know he was doing that, or maybe he did know and he was doing that and he just embraced it because he felt, well, this is my role. And that's what I'm going to do. It's very hard to tell, like, you know. Yeah,
and it depends. Then I've had a lot of time from, but I've a lot of time from in a kind of the pastiche, if that's the word, the cartoon figure of him. You know what I mean? It's like John Lennon, probably, you know, by all accounts, massive cunt, but he's like
an awful human.
Yeah, I can enjoy him as part of Yellow Submarine, and I'm okay with it. You know, so all that type of stuff. But going by depending on certain books or certain people afterwards, that he was like Anton LaVey was a nasty person. Like he, you know, there's talks of like he really didn't look after the lion. He would beat it, you know, didn't feed it. There's then other people talk about he was like abusive to his ex-wife and to his children, or neglectful and all that. I don't know if any of that's true. I wasn't there, but it's been put out in the, you know, that he's definitely less than this pristine kind of person that he presents himself. But I don't think he really does present himself as pristine, and that he will say, I suppose in one he'll go, I'm full of faults in my perfect way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's what makes me perfect. You know? I mean, like, I liked the way that it was a place.
Well, just like the lion was taken off him in the end. Like, so that's a true thing that happened.
Was it? Okay, yeah.
But also because owning a lion is illegal. You know, so you could have looked after him a lot. But you're not allowed to have a lion. You know, it's just not a thing you're allowed to do.
Yeah. Like, I like the way that it was a kind of a thing for outcasts and weirdos. You know?
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. But like.
Well, I think
it's an outcast and a weirdo. I am an outcast and a weirdo. Yeah. Well, maybe I'm an outcast, but I would have been in school and all. But I don't think I ever would have been tempted to become a Satanist, because I think if I'd have gone to a mass and seen all the snakes and the weird stuff, I would just like, well, this is just religion in another name, and I'm not here for that. I'm here for the heavy metal music and the boobs. Thanks.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a huge thing that I notice in occult circles, and I've said this in a number of places, and people tend to agree. Some people really don't like it, and you know, so be it. But is that what people an awful lot to do when they go from this kind of right-hand path, which is like Christianity, or you know, it's basically right-hand path, left-hand path. There's two paths allegedly. Right-hand path is returning yourself to God, you know, going back to the Godhead. left-hand path is becoming your own god, becoming a living god and all that kind of stuff. So Satanism would be a left-hand path, doing your own thing, indulging in your own thing. But what seems to happen is that they just change the clothes of the same people.
Yeah.
So Lucifer becomes the true redeemer, the true being of light, the real kind of Jesus figure, and Jesus becomes, the demonized kind of thing. We have Satan and Jehovah, who's the real Satan. This is good guy Satan, whatever. And in this week's Magic People, the other podcast I've been doing, I'm talking to a Satanist guy, and I was just asking about the whole thing of, so where does the representation of actual evil, because there definitely is acts that can be seen as evil, that would need a kind of representation if you have Satan as the good guy. Like, are you blaming God? Is he the real, these kind of things? And his answer was kind of more or less moralistic things. It's just a human view from that kind of point of view, that there's no good or evil in a kind of true sense of the thing. It's just a viewpoint, a perspective, whatever. But I'm not so sure.
That's a cop-out. That's bullshit.
What
about the other woman in Ireland who just killed her 3 kids? That's fucking evil.
I think so. I think even there can be evil in nature, in the sense of, I still think that some of the cruelty that animals inflict on each other, which is, there's no morals in animals, still, if there was an intelligence behind it, which of course we don't know there is, would be considered evil. But if it's just random, probably not evil. That's just the way it is. But if there's any kind of like plan, and even in the kind of plan of evolutionary plan, it's a bit of a shitty thing to set up. Like, if you're a really nice guy, you're not setting up evolution in the way we have it. You're not going. You're not that everything only it gets to live by causing a tremendous amount of pain on something else. It's not a good guy move. Really not a good guy move. Like. So I mean, they're in the whole thing of being in the cult, and everything is so symbolic, and we have, depending on what way you want to look at it, I try to look at it as symbolism. So like, say something like you have Mars or Ares, depending on your Roman or Greek, which is the representation of anger, and that kind of, so we can encapsulate it, delineate it, all of those things. That the problem I find with Satanism is that there's no symbol of actual evil other than this kind of rebellion against God. And even in that, it's not, it's kind of depicting the institutions as the bad guy, because there's no actual belief in the God in the first place, because it's an atheistic religion. So there's no symbol of kind of evil in that kind of sense, which, fine. It doesn't have to explain everything. It is a guy doing a carnival show, essentially, and the thing. But I find that interesting, and that whole thing then was what you were saying, is that if you had arrived at this mass and you've seen all this, you go, this is exactly the same as what I just came from. It's just different clothes, cooler clothes, more interesting people, probably better parties, a bit less uptight. You're probably going to get laid a bit more, but laid. I've never used that word in my life. Probably going to have sex a bit more. But it's essentially, it's there's Lucifer, who was Jesus on the cross a minute ago. Now the cross is upside down, and he's now the Redeemer. That kind of more comes into Luciferianism, which I suppose is a different thing.
I think it kind of comes down to something though. It's and so like, how do you feel about kind of groups in general? Like, are you a person who joins groups, or you just kind of shy away from them, or? I think I know the answer, to be honest.
I really enjoy groups up until the point that you go, oh yeah, this isn't for me at all. Until it becomes group think, I can go, oh well, I can hang around this and I can learn a bit from this, and then, I have to think like this. No, I'm leaving.
Yeah. See,
and group think really comes into things very, very quickly.
Very quickly. I find. Yeah, like I've learned to think of it like going up, mountain walking or mountaineering or hiking or whatever you're supposed to fucking call it, and.
Forest bathing. I'm a level 3 forest bathing man.
So it's like like if you're at the base of a mountain and there's 4 or 5 groups at the bottom of it. You have the lovely Christians in their white, like they look like Mormons in their white shirts and black ties, and they're all very holy, and they're going to go up the safe route. And then you have the Protestants, and they're a bit more risky. They're going to go up the little less safe route, because it doesn't matter if they die, because it's all predetermined anyway.
But it will also probably be the harder route. the more pure.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, the more difficult one, because if we fall off and die, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Then you have the Buddhists who are like, fuck it, I'm not going up there.
Yeah.
And then the
let
Muslims,
the mountain come to me.
yeah, isn't that,
I am
that's
the
the
mountain.
Muslims.
I am one with the mountain.
The Muslims will bring the mountain to themselves. And then you have the Satanists who just have their dicks out and they're swinging their dicks at everyone.
Yeah. I'm not climbing any mountain.
And so I've arrived to this party and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to do it on my own, lads.
Yeah.
It's all right. Like, that's the way I am with groups. I'm like,
Yeah.
I think it's good to take the best advice you can off the people who are the most kind of relevant to you or who speak the best wisdom, and then make your own decisions. Because I don't think I've been in many groups my whole life at all, other than bands. Bands aren't really groups, though. Well, I suppose maybe.
Oh, they definitely are. They're definitely a pendulum. 100%.
Okay. But I've never been in like a.
Well, you were in the Catholic Church,
yeah,
and you were
okay,
also
it's
in your primary school and your secondary school.
Well, of course, but it's the whole thing of just kind of, I don't like having authority over me or people telling me what I can and can't do. I want to decide for myself. So if I go to the mountain, like in this example that I gave, like I wouldn't choose to go with anyone, because I just say, right, well, I'd ask all of them, which way should I go? What should I bring? Da, da, da. Okay,
Yeah.
well, thanks very much, lads. And,
Which way are you
fare thee
going?
well.
Which way are you going? Which way are you going? Right, I'm over there. I'm not doing the other way. Thanks very much.
And this is something that kind of came out to me watching this film again. It's just that, like, I find it bizarre but fascinating that people need these groups, and they need, like, they search for meaning, and they just end up being with other people of similar ideas instead of going after something themselves. You know?
Yeah,
like Anton LaVey, he's the trailblazer, because he had
absolutely.
the idea, I need to find meaning here. And he went off and did the work, did the research, or not, or came up with something completely bullshit based on Freud, or whatever, but he found his meaning and grabbed it and went with it. And that is, I can only have admiration for that.
Literally, he's the only Satanist.
yeah. But then you have the groupies. And I have no time for groupies.
Yeah.
I have no time
and by
for just...
joining the Church of Satan and being the groupie, you're not a Satanist in the sense of by joining, by adhering to this pendulum. You're not being an individual.
Yeah,
all that
exactly.
Kind of stuff.
It's like, you know, growing up, you could pick out the lads who are going to grow up and be the bikers, because you were like, you have no ambition except just to follow what your cousin did.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember in bands.
This is just an example. It's just an example.
I remember when we were in band. Sorry, go on.
No, but it's just an example. But like, you can just like, the thing with groups is it's the group thing. Is that like, it's just people blindly following, or maybe not blindly following, but following someone who is either like a negative or a positive manipulator. You know, so it's like, well, I like the cut of his jib, so I'm going to follow him.
Yeah.
You know, but you're not doing your own question. Are you really finding your own meaning if you're just following the teaching of other people? You know?
No, but I suppose in defense of that is like, the only reason you know how to read is because you've followed someone's teaching and someone showed you how to do it. And so I mean, there's a time and a place for it. Like, but that doesn't mean then that you can only read the books that the person who taught you to read said is cool.
Course.
Or so what I'm basically, I suppose I'm saying is, you can hang out with groups, you can hang out with teachers, you can all that as a starting point, but draw your own kind of, to have your own journey from it.
Have your own interpretation of things. Don't listening and following to other people. You know, especially not me. Disregard everything I ever say, because I only ever mean half of it.
And that's the thing, and like, it's subject to change. Like, if Anton LaVey in the mid-90s, which, well, he died in 97, so not whatever, I had said, well, geez, actually, I've been looking at this Jesus thing and I like it. He's in no position to ever do it, because you're not allowed to change your mind on any of these things, you know. And it's like,
yeah. That would have been funny, huh?
and I'm actually surprised he didn't, because I mean, it would just fit in with the whole kind of troll kind of element, like, you know.
Perfect.
Yeah. Or become a Buddhist or something just like insane. Or, you know, any amount of things. I suppose he could have grown really weird hair or something and not look like Ming the Merciless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What there was other. He did look like Ming though. That was kind of cool.
But in one of his later interviews, it's actually on Amazon. There's this kind of unedited interview that was done kind of late in his life, and he's saying, just talking about the beard, and he goes, "It's literally the only facial hair I can grow. I can't grow in any other style. I can't grow a full beard. So it's like not really design. It's just all I could do." Yeah.
Oh, here's what he said. I wrote it down. A religion not based on fear, but based on enjoying carnal pleasures. Like there was a gap between psychology and religion. No religion is based on enjoyment. And I've written down here. And so here we have our old fucking frenemy Edward Bernays showing up again.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it definitely is. It's Satanism in the form that doesn't exist without capitalism, consumerism, as in the Bernays guise, and it doesn't exist without Christianity. Like it's very reliant on so there's no ultimate truth to it. It's just reactionary, which is fine. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Like
it's this thing is that like as church attendances fall, Catholic Christian churches anyway, as their attendances fall, like it's not like people are turning around to become Satanists because they're just saying, nah, it's all crap.
Yeah.
So I wonder what is the end game for it, or if there is a plan or whatever. Because like that Hail Satan one, like I really liked watching that one. I thought it was quite funny.
But literally that entire Hail Satan thing could have been done with anything. It didn't have to be Satan. Any provocative.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas at least the Satanism of the Church of Satan is a recognizable Satanism, if you want. Like it's just kind of it's like the Temple of Satan. Is that what it is? Or the Satanic Temple is definitely arriving out of woke culture. There's no question of that. It's activism. It's all cool, good for them. They're doing this stuff or whatever. But it doesn't have anything to do with Satanism. It's not really a reaction to Christianity. It's a reaction to hypocrisy and bureaucracy and
But I mean, to think of it in a trans-surfing kind of way, it's that like, well, the pendulum is Christianity, and by being a Satanist, you're still given that pendulum energy or power.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, you're better off just kind of walking away from both of them, just being like, well, if
unless you do the thing of having your phase of Satanism to get out of the pendulum altogether, because you've swung both ways.
Oh, no, look, unless as well, also as well, unless you found that the pendulum works for you, and then work it, baby.
Yeah. Satanists themselves would definitely say that it's not really a reaction to Christianity. It's just that's who they are and that's their expression, and that's fair enough. So I don't want to. It's like talking about reviews and stuff like that. Who am I to say anything? But it's like, if you believe you're Satanist and has nothing to do with Christianity, I believe you, and I'm not placating you. I genuinely believe that. Like I understand that you can have this sensibility and aesthetic and pursuit of truth in that guise, and it's probably been around for all eternity, where you have the trickster, the bad guy, who's secretly the good guy. It's non-conformity, but it's still a reaction to authority, ultimately, and that's fine. That's good. That's only ever good. It just comes in many different guises, really.
Yeah, except that there's no point in having another authority figure if you're just reacting against authority. Because like what?
Sure, but I suppose that it's like in the Satan of Satanism is kind of a bit more like the Buddha of Buddhism, where he's not the head of the church. He's not the God. Yeah. He's the shower of the way, or he's the thing to attain for yourself. Like that kind of thing. Rather than Jesus, who is you have to go through him. You have to be nice to him. You have to become friends, and he decides whether you're awesome or not. Although he did die on the cross for all our sins, so if we don't sin, we're kind of letting him down a bit,
yeah, okay, I can live with that one. Yeah, okay, that's so go forth and sin. Okay,
yeah, go forth and sin. Yeah,
you said,
or else Jesus died in vain.
What else was there? They say something that acceptance is a big thing for them. So that's good. If you're gay, you're gay. So what? They don't tolerate. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like that. They're saying that we don't. It's not that we tolerate homosexuality.
Yeah.
It's not a tolerance. It's just be who you want to be.
Yeah. Just accept people the way they are, and that's only a good thing.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, there's plenty of good things about it. It's just that I think, I don't know, maybe I need to meet a genuine Satanist or go to something and then kind of make up my mind more, because I think the problem with the documentaries is that I think it was probably well, I mean, they're documentaries about Anton LaVey, so they're obviously they're kind of more focused on him than on the church, you know.
Yeah.
So if there's any, you know, ones about the church, let me know, because I'll watch them. And I mean,
I don't think there is. There's an offshoot of the Church of Satan, which is the Temple of Seth, which is you might have come across a guy. He's called Michael A. Aquino, from conspiracy type things. He was like a military kind of a guy who pops up in a lot of different kind of conspiracy weirdness type of areas. But he got into Satan, was a real dude. You know, he was that Anton LaVey was talking to actual Satan and got into this. Got like very much into the fairy woo, and there was a big separation in the churches of Church of Satan because of this, and he went off and did his own. And he's recently rewritten the Satanic Bible and stuff like that. He's a load of different kind of different things. And then there's other people who have been in it, who've also like had to leave because they actually believed in actual Satan, which is like it's mostly misanthropy, really. I think on these parts by people, but it's interesting. You know, so I mean, it's. There is definitely theistic Satanism, you know, that people do kind of follow that, and it's like, so rather than just the theatre, or rather than the reactionary thing, or all of these things we talked about, some people do actually fully worship Satan, you know.
You know what I mean? Just go onto YouTube and look up some satanic conspiracy theories, and, you know, like, you're balls deep and stuff pretty quickly. I think the maddest one I ever came across was that John the Baptist was the real Jesus, the real Messiah, and he was sent here by Satan.
Yeah.
And the reason that there's so many wars in the Middle East is because the Western powers or governments are going over there looking for the remains and the power that was left behind, and it's got nothing to do with oil. Nothing to do with oil. It's a conspiracy to find like the birthplace of this Masonic kind of Illuminati stuff. It's mad. The conspiracy theories are fun. I mean,
they're fun. I really enjoyed them as entertainment, but I don't know. I go. It's like even when you're doing, I was like falling into the whole of flat Earth, and I've kind of really get into it. But it's like to the point that, you know, you're always one YouTube sentence away from, you know, the Jews run the world, or whatever, or whatever, you know, like I'm going to see how long I can ride this train before it just gets so ridiculous, you know.
yeah. I'm like that. I'm like watching Ancient Aliens. I'm watching, just going like, these are so well made. I believe everything.
I know, but that's the thing. In the enjoyment of it is in the moment of watching it, you totally believe it. Oh yeah, flat Earth, totally in it. You know, it's conspiracy because God loves us and they don't want to. You know, the government doesn't want us to know that. A hollow Earth as well. Awesome. Alien bases in Antarctica. Fully on board with that. Yeah, here we go. Glass monuments on the moon. Of course, sure, why not? Of course. It doesn't seem strange at all. But it's like, but it is kind of escapism in that, and avoidance of the mundane and harsh realities of, you know, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael or whatever, you know, or of Trump or whatever your local kind of idiot is, you know. But it's like going, oh, wouldn't it be great if it was the Matrix, because that means I have a better life somewhere else. You know, I'm just plugged into this for shits and giggles, or it's not.
And that, I mean, I think we spoke about this before about Mandela effects and stuff like that. It's that, like, I mean, even if it was true, like, you know, I still have to make dinner for the young lads this evening.
That's Cypher's whole thing in the Matrix. He goes, I know this isn't a steak. I know it's all an illusion, all that, but it fucking tastes great. You know, but it's like, I know all this is illusion, but I still have to get my kid to go to school. I still have to deal with his tantrum. I'm still going to have to change
like 3 Pampers tonight. Like, that's going to happen. You know,
I still have to pay the mortgage. I still have to pay the ESB bill. I still have to not get enough sleep. All of these things.
I'm a dimension jumper.
Hopefully, I will realise that I'm plugged into my Matrix, and my real life will you know, evolve, will come about, and I will see, you know, just unplug me, man.
Yeah. And I'll never have to change another nappy again.
but it's not the thing, like, people go, like, that whole idea of heaven, that's what it's the same type of thought. But like, what are you going to do for eternity? You know, unplug yourself from the Matrix, and it was hell. You know, that's the takeaway from the Matrix. If you plug yourself from, you think you have it bad, unplug. It got a lot worse. You know what I mean?
Way worse. Yeah, you're better off where you were. Like, yeah. So enjoy your mundaneness and your depression, because it gets worse.
Hail Satan!